It's a form of accelerated depreciation, fully accepted, fully acknowledged by the IRS. There's about 500 pages in the tax code describing it. But it allows the investor to take the depreciation on a front end as opposed to spreading it out over 39 years. The benefit to them is additional cash flow.
So tell me a little bit about what cost segregation is. When's it useful? When's it not?
Yeah, let me jump in on that. In terms of what it is cost segregation is nothing more than a form of accelerated depreciation. As some of your audience may or may not know, when you purchase a commercial property, you have to depreciate it over a 39-year time frame, or 27 and a half years if people live in the property, if it's a multifamily residential type property. Going back about 20 years, there were a couple of court cases involving Walgreens and Health Corporation of America. And they kind of argued the point with the IRS, saying it's unfair to us to have to depreciate this entire building, this entire structure over 39 years, when we know there's various components within that building that just aren't going to last 39 years. Things like carpeting, things like molding on the walls. The parking lots typically only last 15 years. So that's what kind of led to the concept of cost segregation. And the IRS had approved the preferred method is an engineered approach whereby we go into the asset and we break out the components that have lesser year lives, typically a 5-year lifespan, 7-year, and 15-year. And the concept of the cost segregation is it allows you to take those lesser life assets and bunch them together. And over these last handful of years, we can actually take that in the form of a write-off in something called a bonus depreciation. So it's a form of accelerated depreciation, fully accepted, fully acknowledged by the IRS. There's about 500 pages in the tax code describing it. But it allows the investor to take the depreciation on a front end as opposed to spreading it out over 39 years. The benefit to them is additional cash flow.
Right. So in addition to that, the benefit is just the time value of money, right? The dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow. You know, the example we like to give is, if you won the lottery, do you want your lump sum today? Or do you want to wait 39 years to gather that? So, you know, in a roundabout way, that is cost segregation. Front loading your tax liability and to be able to reducing your tax liability in the first year. That creates greater cash flow. Go purchase more properties, put some renovation. Hell, take a trip around the world. It's your money. In a nutshell, cost segregation allows you to do that with your investment properties.
So you said that you're accelerating the depreciation, basically recategorizing the stuff inside of the building in order to give it a new depreciation life cycle.
Correct.
5, 7, and 15 years. So let's break down an example.
Okay.
Let's say you got a typical $5 million building.
Okay. Let's take a $3.9 million building so the numbers work a little bit easier.
Okay,
so
3.9. You're the expert.
So they reach for their calculators. So you purchase a commercial building for $3.9 million. Now, what kind of building is that? Anything and everything. It could be a retail, a Dollar General. It could be an advanced auto store. It could be a hotel. It could be a bank. It could be a gas station. Anything and everything under the umbrella would qualify for this. So you bought it for $3.9 million. Traditionally, your CPA would then depreciate it over a lifespan of 39 years. So if you got $3.9 million divided by 39 years, you're taking $100,000 a year write-off, which is all. That's good. It's better than nothing. However, by applying cost segregation, we're going to look at that same building and probably identify 30%, upwards of 30%, or maybe even more, depending on the asset, of the purchase price will qualify for the 5, 7, and 15-year asset categories. So if you're taking 30% of that same 3.9 million, you're looking at maybe roughly about $1.2 million of first-year write-off versus $1 million, versus $100,000 of first-year write-off. That's a 12-to-1 difference. So what would you rather have, a $100,000 write-off in the current year or 1.2 million? And as you can see, it would take 12 years of straight line depreciation at $100,000 a year to equal the same benefit that you're achieving in the very first year with cost segregation. So you take that $1.2 million of additional depreciation, depending on what tax bracket you're in. If you're, let's say, at roughly a 30% tax bracket, that equates to a $400,000 after tax savings. So if you owed the IRS that particular year, let's say $100,000, we've completely wiped out your current year tax obligation, and you can roll forward any of the unused benefit in future years.
Does the depreciation that's coming from 5, 7, and 15, you said you get 1.2 up front on this example. Where is that 1.2 coming from? So is it not that like
No.
you would get 1.2 for the 5 years, and then you would get 700 for the 7 years, and then you would get 400 for the 15 years, and the rest for.
Well, the whole amount would be the 1.2. So if you've identified roughly 30% of the purchase price falls into the 5, 7, and 15-year categories. The 5-year categories would be things like flooring, moldings, and so forth. The 7-year would be appliances, washing machines, things of that nature. The 15-year would be the parking lot, signage, landscaping. All of that would fall into that category. So the three of those combined would equal that 30%, or that 1.2 million out of the 3.9 million.
And it may vary from property to property as well. We're kind of giving just an industry average. We'll talk a little more in specifics of car washes, gas stations, which do a lot more higher reclass. But on average, you can pretty much pinpoint 20% low end, upwards 40, 50, 60% if it's a car wash, gas station. But
sometimes
right in the middle, sometimes 100, but right in the middle, it's safe to say for a multifamily, a QSR, a dental office, your typical brick and mortar that you're driving by on the street, it's going to be right around that 30, 35% reclass.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is when you do the cost seg, right, and you take the 15, 7, and 5 year, depreciating assets within the building, right? Why do you get to take all of those in year one and not break it out into 5, 7, and 15?
All right, that's what we were describing is that what they call the bonus depreciation that was put in place in the Tax Cut and Jobs Act back in 2017, whereby they allow you to take the 5, 7, and 15-year and bunch them all together and take a 1-year bonus, if you will, depreciation. Up until this year, it's now beginning to phase out at 20% per year. So anything put in place in 2023, instead of getting the 100%, you get 80%. Next year, it'll be 60%, and so on and so forth. So that's where we came up with that 30%, or the 1.2 million out of the total purchase price of 3.9 million.